Hey YouTube, coming at you with I think it's a fun video, but I think it should be somewhat educational too on the GBL algorithm. So the GBL algorithm, you've probably heard it multiple times. It has a wide range of definitions, and I'm going to kind of give you a few of those definitions and talk about each of them and why I think it makes sense or doesn't make sense. And I looked at like Reddit comments and stuff like that to give other people's thoughts as well. So what is GBL algorithm? So there's essentially like whenever you hear the word algorithm, GBL algorithm, what it's coming down to is matchmaking. It's when people say GBL algorithm, they are saying that GBL has a matchmaking system that will dictate your record, is what they're saying. So there's three sort of things on that from the smallest to the biggest. So the first one is there's a matchmaking system, and basically that matchmaking system will just pair you against other people in your elo range, right? So as soon as you hit ace, you're basically going to be against other aces within like 100 rating of you, like all the way up, right? So at the beginning, it's just kind of pairing you against people that have a similar amount of matches, but then once you get to a certain rating, it pairs you close to 100 ELO, maybe 150 ELO within the person that you're battling. That's the matchmaking system. The second one, taking it a little further, is that's not how you spell matchmaking for starters. There is a matchmaking system that tries to keep you at a 50% win rate. So it's basically saying that like no matter what you do, you will fall back to sort of a median win rate of 50%. And the last thing is there's a matchmaking system on the extreme end, as some say, there's a matchmaking system that reads your Pokemon and the order and hard counters you when you are winning too much. So basically it's saying that this 50% win rate exists so much that they try and force you back down to the 50% rate so much that that an algorithm will read your team and then select an opponent that can hard counter you to lower your win rate to keep it at 50%. So much so that if you change your team 5 times in a row, this matchmaking system will read your entirely new team and put you against Pokemon and hard counter you the entire time, right? Those are the extremes. So before we go to that, talk about all these, let's talk about my stats and why. No, we'll get to that in a minute. We'll talk about my stats and this 50% win rate. So I have done GBL since season 1. I try and do all my sets every single day. I have done 37,390 battles as of December 18th when I'm filming this, which is pretty much every single set, every single day once you started getting unlimited sets, because for those of you who do not know, back in the day, you actually had to walk to be able to play. I think it was 3 kilometers, you got one free set a day, and then you had to walk 3 kilometers to get a second set. So just a fun fact for you there. But if we're looking at statistics, I've done 37,390 battles with 19,533 wins. That is a 52.24% win percentage. There's 2 things to consider here. Because I do my sets every single day, there are often times that I'm just putting out garbage teams and don't care just to get the dust. So for the last couple of seasons of the Catch Cup, I'm just putting out whatever I built up during the season, even if it's not a good team. I'm not trying to win. I'm just trying to get the dust. So even though I have a 52 point, and then there's other seasons where I actually throw to people trying to get legend when I'm close to it. So it's probably, my win rate is realistic, probably close to like 53%, 54%. And then this season, just looking at my last 2 seasons, so I've hit legend, if you're new to this channel, 14 straight seasons now out of 16. I only missed the first couple seasons. I've been as high as number 18 on the global leaderboard. My win, I'm at 24.33 this season, 250 over 445, and then last season, as you can see, basically just over 50% win rate, hit legend 14 straight times. So now the question is, if you have these 3 different matchmaking systems, why do some people believe they keep it at 50% when others have clearly shown, if you look at the leaderboard, that they have like 55, 60, average 65% win rates? And why do some people actually believe that it goes so far as that they're actually trying to hard counter you? And so let's take a step back, because I really like this Reddit post about this. It's called MMR laddering. So I'm just gonna go word for word what this person wrote. Truly known on Reddit 3 months ago. So the discussion exists in basically every game with some kind of MMR laddering system. So as you're trying to move up the ranks, it's not unique to Pogo and every. If a system did exist, um, then the objective would be to maintain a roughly 50% win rate among players. Such a thing would be beneficial for the people running the game because it would keep people playing for longer. And as they might be looking for a specific goal, something like getting to Legend Rank in Pokemon Go, if such an algorithm existed, then it would force them to play a longer before then they could achieve that goal. Dangle the carrot, so to speak. So you need to enforce a 50% win rate. Just do that. But then they argue like, how do people get to the top? How are people so good? So that's kind of their just way of discounting it. So I think there's this is a really good idea of the system, but one that already shows why I don't think it's extreme ends of 3 and 2. If you've played Pokemon Go Battle League for 16 straight seasons like I have, and you have listened to the heads of Pokemon Go talk about GBL, to say they don't care about GBL is an understatement. They make their money from people grinding raids with raid bosses and purchasing like tickets, like what are they called? Raid passes. They make money from super incubators where people are grinding their eggs to hatch them. Every minute someone is playing Pokemon Go Battle League, they are not outside doing those things. So from a financial perspective, it actually makes 0 sense for Niantic to implement an algorithm that tries to keep people inside longer playing this game. Like I said, I play my sets, all 5 sets, every single day. It takes me about an hour and a half. That is an hour and a half that I am not. I mean, there's many other reasons why I'm not doing it, but that is an hour and a half that I am not going outside and doing raids. That's an hour and a half I'm not going outside and catching Pokemon. That's an hour and a half I'm not going outside and trying to hatch eggs with incubators. So from a financial perspective, it actually doesn't make any sense for them to implement this system. So that's just like, let's just get that out on the table immediately. So the question is, if perhaps statistically a lot of people are in that 50% range, why? And here we go. Here comes my why are you bringing this up? Are you a statistician? Well, no, I have an economics undergrad and a master's. So yeah, I work with statistics a lot, and this is a standard distribution graph. So for those of you who do not know, basically standard distribution graph is basically the average statistical numbers of like something that will happen. So you have the mean and then standard deviation. They call them intervals. So basically what they're saying is at one standard deviation, this sort of mean minus one standard deviation, 68.2% of all the numbers will be within that range. If you extend it to 2 standard deviations, it's 95.4, and 3 is 99.7. And how I explained this in a previous video, like, why are you showing me this? So how I explained this in a previous video is, think of the bottom axis as you are getting hard countered to your hard countering your opponent. So in the farthest sort of standard deviation level from the 3rd standard deviation to 2 standard deviations, where there is only this 2.15% happening, you are getting hard countered, right? In the 2 standard deviation to 1 standard deviation, I call this so in this 2.15, I call it, you are so hard countered, there's just no, you can't win. Doesn't matter how strong you play, you cannot win. In this 2 to 1 standard deviation, I say this is, you are hard countered, but there is a win condition. So hard countered, no win condition. Hard countered, there is a potential win condition. It's tough, but there's a potential win condition. And then I call this first 34% on the left side is, you are either sort of soft losing or somewhat like evenish lead. So soft losing or evenish lead. The second 34.1% is soft winning the lead or kind of evenish. And that's where sort of the majority of the games should be played. You're either going to barely win the lead, it's going to be an even lead, or you're going to barely lose the lead. So if you watched my videos a couple weeks ago on the Holiday Cup, it was, let's give an example of Vigoroth versus Altaria. So the Altaria wins in the 1 and 2 shields, but it's only like slightly. So that would be like a soft lead loss if you were running Vigoroth on the lead. But doesn't matter because it's still a very, very, very winnable game, right? And then on the other end, it's the opposite of this end. So 13.6%, you win the lead really hard, but there's still a win condition for your opponent. And then the other end is 2.15% that your opponent's just probably, your opponent has no chance. You're just going to win, right? So this is a standard distribution of, think of this as all the games in GBL you're playing. So if you look up my statistics again, last season I played 2,420 games. So if you run that as a percentage of the stuff here, if I play 2,420 games and times it by the 2.15%, that means in 52 of my games, I could just top left. I have absolutely no win condition. And then if you add on the 13.6, right? Now we're looking at 15.75%. So 2,420 games times 15.75% means that in 381 games, I had a hard counter lead loss. And that doesn't even consider like the other sort of bad leads that you get in that 34.1%, right? 381 times I had a freaking Lantern going against a Superior, or a Ninetales going against a Swampert. 381 times. So the question is, there's two things to look at here. One is that a lot? And 381 times out of 2,420, it's annoying, but it's not like anything consequential, right? You're out of the normal standard deviation, and you're like, when you're on the extreme end, you're like, that stuff doesn't happen too much. But when you consider two standard deviations, 15% is a decent amount. So 381 times. So yes, you lost the lead so hard 381 times, but you also won the lead super hard 381 times. And this is where we get into confirmation bias. And this is where I'm having problems with other content creators who push this algorithm. Will you get hard countered if you play all your sets? Statistically, you will get hard countered 381 times in a season, which is a lot. But what confirmation bias is basically a tendency to interpret information in a favor that supports your beliefs. So if you are a content creator or someone blaming, I can't hit expert, I can't hit legend because there is an algorithm hard countering me, specifically targeting me, it may be that you have confirmation bias, that this algorithm that statistically says you should be hard countered 381 times during a season is so struck in your mind that this is the reason, and then you just put yourself down and you put this game down, like that's the reason you're not making legend. And I will guide you to PokeDaxi's video. So PokeDaxi is not a GBLer. He rarely plays GBL. He is so focused on doing just like his videos and top tips and everything like that. So he played GBL, but he was not good. He was not good at all. I've played him multiple times. I've won every single time, even like giving myself disadvantages, I've won. And he never ever blamed the GBL algorithm. He's just like, I don't have the skill set. And then he got Panic, a coach, to actually coach him. And if you watch the difference between him playing 1 or 2 years ago and him playing now, all these different game mechanisms that you need to use to be strong, he now knows how to do. Counting, fast move timing, knowing matchups, knowing when to switch, knowing when to sack swap. If you watch all my game mechanics video. Like this is I consider myself a teaching channel. I think the majority of the GBL channels are just shoutcasters, going like, oh look, this battle's insane. They're shoutcasting. I'm teaching you. I'm teaching you how to play this game. I'm teaching the game mechanics. I've got a fast move optimization video. I've got team building videos about learning different matchups. I teach you how to use different Pokemons and the ins and outs of matchups and stuff like that. Those are the types of things you need to hit Legend. I've hit Legend 14 straight times. I am not even that good. As you saw, my win rate is like overall my career is 52%, and I've played every single season in GBL. 52%. There is no mechanism stopping you from hitting Legend. The only thing that's stopping you from hitting Legend is, I'd say, two things. One, you don't have the Pokemon. The Pokemon, needing the Pokemon is a huge investment. I barely ever play Master League. I have a healthy Ultra League lit roster, and now I have a just jacked Great League roster, and that is because I have been playing and focused all my resources into GBL. So I have a ton. But if you do not have some of the in Ultra League, some of the top XL Pokemon or Legendary Pokemon, because Ultra League is super XL and Legendary heavy. Master League, you need a hundo plus Master League plus Legendary plus XLs. So that's like out of the question for the majority of people. And then GBL for Great League, there are some Pokemon that you don't need a ton for. Like you can just get let me just quickly pull up the GBL rankings for Great League. Like a Gligar, you don't need this. Skarmory, realistically, you don't need this. Lantern, there's been a ton out there. So there's a ton of Great League Pokemon that you can do. But let's look at the other top 10 rankings. XL Lickitung, huge XL investment if you don't have it. Registeel hasn't been around for a while. Grass Knot Cresselia, that is only available from a research like 5 years ago when they still gave out legendaries. Swampert, Community Day Pokemon, you need Hydro Cannon. Carbink, big XL investment. Metachamp, big XL investment. Bastion, big XL investment, right? So if you don't have all these Pokemon, you're already at a significant disadvantage. I don't care how skilled you are. If you don't actually have the Pokemon to compete, you are going to struggle in GBL. But the second factor is all those things that I mentioned. Team building, fast move optimization, counting your Pokemon's moves, just knowing the different matchups, knowing the ins and outs of using a Pokemon. I always call out my audience. Do not blindly follow content creators' teams. I don't care if I put out a team that says 15 wins in a row. You will not get 15 wins in a row because I know the ins and outs of the teams. I know how to use it better than you do, realistically, right? When the content creators put together teams, they know why the team works. They know how to use the team and maximize it. So I always say you can't just copy teams, and you see it all the time in my comments. I don't have Medi, what can I use? I don't have Gligar, what can I use? If you don't know what to substitute for my Pokemon, you don't know how to use the team, right? And if you don't know how to use a team, you're not going to do well. I don't care where you fall along this statistical analysis of being hard countering your opponent. If you don't know how to use the team, you're not going to do well with it. And then there's all these game mechanics that get you to Legend. So, final thoughts. Is there some sort of GBL algorithm? Yes, there is to a certain extent. And I think the GBL algorithm is basically just a matchmaking system to get you into matching against opponents in your certain range. Do I think there's GBL algorithm that actually tries to keep you at 50% or looks at your team and hard counters your team? First of all, if you notice anything about Niantic, they cannot even get the basic bugs out of the game. I do not think that they are having an algorithm looking at thousands of teams and trying to hard counter them and put them against other Pokemon, like other teams with the hard counters. I don't think that's happening. What I think is happening is there is a matchmaking system that tries to match you and people to the range. Niantic has already said there's no point to GBL because it actually doesn't make us money. They want you to go and play the game. Like they freaking got rid of remote raid passes, which was a money grabber because they want you to go out and play for your data. They're not going to want you to stay at home and grind GBL at a 50% win rate and play longer. They want you to get out. They're not going to force you to just stay at a 50% win rate and grind. I think there's a matchmaking system. I think there is a statistical distribution of games from hard wins to hard losses, and you just have a lot of people just have confirmation bias with their results to to they look as the algorithm, they look at the results, and it's easier to blame the algorithm than it is to blame yourself. So it's confirmation bias that there is some evil algorithm, Niantic, trying to keep you at a 50% win rate and not letting you get to legend, when in reality there are thousands of people who hit legend. There are the leaderboard, there are the same people on the leaderboard because they have the Pokemon and the skills and time to dedicate to this. They are the best in the world for a reason. If you look at any of the regionals, these people are the best in the world, and they are there because they have mastered the skills. So I'm sorry if this is hard for some of you. The algorithm is not the reason that you are losing. Your skill is. Your Pokemon are. So stop blaming the algorithm. Understand that it's just statistics. Subscribe to this channel and learn the skills. Learn all those things that I talked to you about. And you'll probably eventually hit legend, right? It's not some great it's not some great corporation trying to hinder you from hitting legend. It's realistically just your Pokemon availability and your skill set. So that is the GBL algorithm. That was my thoughts on it. I know a lot of people believe in the algorithm. I know certain content creators push the algorithm. But if you take out your confirmation bias and you take out how sort of hurt you are by not hitting legend, even though you've put so much time and effort in, just realize that, what makes more sense? A game where they're trying to make you go out and play and they make no money from GBL, except even like rewarding legendary Pokemon. So it is actually even less incentive to go out and grind if you can just like get legendary Pokemon in GBL. Like, what makes more sense? That Niantic, the incompetent Niantic who hates GBL, is actually spending time programming the game when they can't even roll out events properly and they're introducing all these new stuff. Like, from a logical perspective, it doesn't even make sense. So take out that like bias, think logically, and it just like that's the algorithm. So that is it. Hope that was helpful. Hopefully I changed some minds. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the algorithm, and I will see you guys in the next one.